Shouldn't financial advice focus on you, your goals, challenges, dreams for the future? At Modern Woodman, our goal is to help you plan for your financial security. Our representatives are people you can trust to help bring your dreams to life. Modern Woodman can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement.
Contact your local representative at Arthur today at 989-834-3300.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
This podcast contains some strong language and some stories involving violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Warfighters United, where veterans resources and transitional programs are provided. My name is Eric Calley. I'm the host, and with me today I have Shenk, who is the filmmaker of In Waves and War, and Marcus Capone, who is a Navy SEAL from 2001 to 2013. He's a huge advocate in stopping veteran suicide and using psychedelics as a proven treatment for our veterans that come back with TBI and PTSD. John and Marcus, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Eric. Nice to meet you, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, so Marcus, I guess I'll start with you. You were a Navy SEAL for 12, 13 years. And when I watched the movie, it showed that you were actually at the BUDS program when 9/11 happened. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. We were in, our class was the first class to graduate when the towers came down. So we were in third phase. We were actually on the grinder doing PT in the morning. We had a couple weeks left to graduate, and the instructors actually came out and told us that someone flew airplanes into the World Trade Center. And, we initially thought it was a joke. We literally turned to each other and said, why are they still messing with us? Here we are. We've been at BUDS now over, I guess it was like 5 months. And we thought the games were over, but we felt like they were still playing games, and we thought they were still messing with our minds. But they marched us into their their quarters, their sleeping areas, and on the big screen, they let us watch it for about 15 seconds. Kind of walked us in. We saw it on TV, walked right back out, gave us about a 5-minute speech, and we went right back to PT. So it was like one of those things where we paused training for literally a few minutes, but you could definitely see the demeanor in the instructors. Most of them had been around for 10 or 15. The older ones, 20 plus years, different demeanor. Like they were pissed. And we were just students trying to get through training. We kind of really didn't know what was about to happen over the next 20 years. But you can definitely see it in the instructor staff that there was a shift happening.
Yeah, no, I was at Grand Valley State when I watched that, and I joined up in the Marine Corps the very next day. And so you're a little bit before me. But it kind of set us on a trip that we didn't know what was going to happen over the next 10 years. And so I was reading up about you, and you were with SEAL Team 6 and SEAL Team 10?
Correct.
Yeah, and so you're gone over 300 plus days a year, a lot of those years. What was that like?
I mean, I look back and I did everything that I wanted to do and I signed up to do. I know it came with a heavy toll on the backside of it, but if I had to go back, I wouldn't do anything different. I might protect my head a little bit and protect, my, I guess, mental welfare as we're going through that stuff. But it was out of my last year in college, I played football in college. I was a scholarship quarterback, and I'd always been part of a team. So for me, I was always working with individuals that were like-minded and competitive. And, the thought of graduating college, at 22 years old and stepping off into the private sector scared me a little bit. And so when I, found out that there was more out there to do, and specifically the SEAL teams, the SEAL community, gave me another spark. It gave me, passion and something I really woke up to and look forward to doing every day. And so, for me, it was, it was being part of another team. I never felt like a day I spent in the SEAL teams was a day of work. We could have worked 20 hours or stayed up all night. And yes, we were tired, but I never looked at it as a job. It was just something that I was so passionate and loved every minute of. I loved the brotherhood. I loved the missions. I loved the training. I loved the physical fitness of it. I loved I just everything that I asked for, I got. And sometimes they say, be careful what you wish for, but I got it all. And then, eventually it came to a toll, but yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, went all over the world being a Navy SEAL, a lot to Iraq and Afghanistan, searching down high value targets, doing that sort of thing. And that always comes with a toll because you guys, you have the guy on the right and left. And, a lot of them, as the movie showed, got killed in a crash, a copter track crash. But what I really liked about it is how you guys flipped the coin to find out who was going to Afghanistan first and who went to Germany.
Yeah. So, that was a true story. We were actually in Virginia Beach, and at the time, two platoons would train up, side by side, and that was your task unit. And we thought we were the better platoon, and we thought we were going to deploy earlier to Afghanistan. And really, it was all over a coin toss. And they brought the leadership in and flipped the coin, and we lost the coin toss. So our sister platoon wound up deploying first, and we wind up deploying to Germany initially. So a lot more training that we did to prepare, but unfortunate, we lost a helicopter and lost, many of our buddies in 2005. And, there's a book about it. There was a movie about it, Lone Survivor. If anyone's interested, I'm sure most people have heard about it, but it was a very difficult time, not just for us, the individuals involved, all our teammates, but for the community. It was the largest loss of life in special operations in a long time. And we just weren't prepared. Nobody prepares for that. And I don't think anybody, I want to say anybody should, but really it's not what was on our minds. What was on our minds was going overseas and going after, bad individuals. And when this happened, I think it was just a shock to the soul, shock to the community, shock to the families. We left a lot of single women and children to grow up without fathers. And we take care of our own, and we did the best we could with what we had at the time and what we knew. And so, I think with this movie, I believe we're just getting better in terms of looking for what else is out there to treat. Yeah, I would call the hidden wounds of war. When individuals come home with TBIs and with mental health issues, PTSD, and struggling with depression and anxiety. I think this movie does a good job of showing individuals that there's hope, that there's stuff out there that we can look into if we're not getting the help that we need from the current system or the current standards of care.
So is that when you decided to make Terramind?
Terramind is a completely different company. Terramind was an interest from some investors who saw the success that my wife and I were having with our nonprofit vets. We started a charity after I found healing through psychedelic treatment. And the investors thought, what we were doing for veterans was incredible. And they saw that it had so much success that, why wouldn't the private sector look into alternative treatments like this? And really, that was kind of the birth of Terramind. And Terramind really is just a commercial business taking alternative treatments to the employee benefit space. So half of Americans get their health insurance from their employer. And that's the idea of Terramind, is if we can bring a better solution to those struggling with treatment-resistant healthcare
through grant funding and whatnot. So, like I was reading about vets as well. It says you guys have helped over 900 veterans throughout the nation with this kind of treatment and provide the psychedelic stuff down in Mexico, I believe.
Yeah. So first off, psychedelics are Schedule I drugs, so they're still illegal in the U.S. And what Schedule I means is that they have no medical benefit, or they have a potential high rate of abuse. We know now through a lot of data, clinical trials, and really years of research, it's the opposite. They actually have a high value for medical care, and they really aren't addictive. They're actually being utilized for individuals who have substance use or alcohol use disorder. And so, I think what we've all been told for many years has kind of been the opposite of what they're actually doing. Vets was started through, again, my own healing through psychedelic treatment outside the country, in Mexico where it's legal. And we just wanted to pay it forward. And we wanted to help our friends who are also struggling with similar issues. And that's kind of how that started. And to date now, we've actually funded over 1,200 veterans for treatment. Many of the stories are the same as ours. Individuals just really struggling, isolating, angry, upset at the world, just really struggling through that transition, kind of just find hope again. And it's been really amazing to watch over the last 7 years now, where this started and where it's going. And, we are grateful that we got introduced to John, Shenk, and Bonnie several years ago, who were extremely interested in telling this story the right way. And as I think you've seen in our new documentary, In Waves of War, that'll be streaming on Netflix November 3rd. And we're extremely excited for the launch of the documentary.
And so, John, let me switch over to you. What made you want to be so involved with In Waves and War? Like, what made you want to do this documentary?
Well, Bonnie and I, my filmmaking partner, had a chance to meet Marcus and Amber about 6 years ago in 2019. Marcus was 2 years out of having done this alternative psychedelic therapy in Mexico, the reports of which just, kind of blew our minds. Here's a decorated Navy SEAL who spent 13 years fighting for this country, but when he got back, he could not get the help he needed for the traumatic brain injuries that he suffered and the symptoms of PSD that were ongoing. I don't know, Marcus, probably taking dozens and dozens of painkillers and antidepressants and that kind of thing every day to try to deal with stuff, and symptoms just getting worse and worse and worse to the point where, where we are now with an epidemic. We have, 20 plus documented suicides in the veteran community every day. That's 4 times as many people that were dying at the height of the war on terror. And Marcus and Amber kind of took things into their own hands, and they sent Marcus down to this psychedelic therapy. Marcus didn't even know what it was at the time, and it ended up they told us just changing their lives and giving them this kind of ray of hope. And anyways, we wanted to tell the story behind that, and so we went back and we sat down with Marcus and Amber, and we started documenting their story and the story of their friends, because as in the military ethos, you don't leave your fellow soldiers on the battlefield. And that's exactly what these guys did. But instead of the battlefield, this is now the field of, mental anguish and the agony that comes from some of these injuries. And so you see Marcus and his buddies go down to Mexico to do this treatment in the film. And I didn't have much experience with military. I didn't grow up in a military family, but these guys I now consider friends and family, and I have to say it's really been a profound experience being involved.
Yeah. So Marcus, how did you find these kind of treatments down in Mexico? Was it word of mouth from other Navy SEALs that went down and said, "Hey, this really helped me"? Or because I know in the military, word of mouth is key when talking about programs and finding out ways to heal ourselves.
That's all it was, really. I mean, there's nothing out there at the time. This is 2017. We've come a long way in terms of when you mention the word psychedelic treatment, where it's a little bit understood now. It's definitely out there. 2017, we're still talking about extremely fringe, really stigmatized, and even asking for help around mental health care, stigmatized. It still is, but it was, 8 years ago it was extremely difficult. But this was word of mouth. There was another SEAL, extremely decorated, had been in for a long time. and had similar, was going through the similar kind of post-war struggles that, I mean, honestly, so many have. And this individual returned home from a treatment with like literally a 180 from where he was headed before. And when everyone sort of changed in that individual, specifically the doctor who my wife Amber was working with, he called Amber up one day and just said, I think Marcus could benefit from this treatment. And I just saw what it did for, one of my very best friends who was really struggling. Sounds like Marcus is dealing with the exact same thing. And that's kind of how this started. So, to your point, this was all word of mouth. And even when we started Vets, there was no advertising. There was no social media. We kept this underground for almost a year. When I mean underground, I just meant verbally hidden. We were still kind of a little afraid to just start talking about this because there's nothing that we've ever experienced. But the goal was if we can get 12 individuals treated in the first year successfully, we would think that, this is something that actually works. Then we can potentially start branching out and talking more about it and introducing to more folks. When that first year, we actually funded 35 individuals for treatment. Wow. So it was like there was such a demand there that it was obvious people were hungry for help, for healing, for new answers. You fight an unconventional war and you come home. It's not really easy to just diagnose an individual with something simple and hand them a prescription drug and expect them to get better. And so these are very complex cases, many of them, and it takes a complex treatment protocol to sometimes get through those challenges. So.
Hello, I'm Eric Calley from the Warfighters United podcast, and Modern Woodmen Fraternal Financial is hosting the 4th annual Trucking for Troops Veteran Raffle to benefit local veterans. The raffle's grand prize will be a brand new 2026 Chevrolet Silverado Crew Cab 4x4. Raffle tickets are $100 each. The drawing will take place on November 10th at 2 p.m. All proceeds from the raffle tickets will go towards supporting veterans. All tickets can be purchased at Modern Woodmen, Shaheen Chevrolet, or the VFW Post 2406 in Charlotte. Yeah, and so talk about the psychedelics a little bit. So like it kind of mentions in the movie, and I'm an advocate of it. I've done microdosing on my own side just because I've heard throughout the years, and it really helped me not wake up angry, pissed off. It dealt with my headaches, some of my PTSD, and everything. But so when you go down there, is it Ibogaine, right?
Ibogaine is the drug. It's one of the drugs. There's many. It's the one that many of the individuals that go through the VETS program decide to go, seek out care. It's very long. It's a difficult experience. It's not fun. It's not recreational. I tell individuals that those who are interested in going down there, like it's going to be a tough ride. It's going to be like going through fire, and you're going to deal with a lot of, if you quote unquote demons, if you want to call them that, because what the psychedelic does, it just kind of gets inside your unconscious, your subconscious, and brings forward years of garbage that you need to get filtered out. And if you grew up and potentially if you've gone through real trauma that's affecting your everyday life, you're actually going to face those things on these experiences. So it's really wild how kind of years of psychotherapy are supposed to get you to that point. These drugs seem to do it within an evening or within a couple of days. And so for individuals, that can be a lot to deal with. And so having the proper plans in place, we call it prep and integration with a therapist or with a psychedelic integration coach. Prep meaning we try to make sure the individual is prepared before they go into these treatments because they can be challenging, extremely challenging. And again, especially if you're dealing with specific trauma. And then we call it integration on the backside, where the integration is what it sounds like. It's integrating the experience that you just had back into normal life. Because for most of us, we have to go back to our jobs, to our families, to the things we're doing every day. And so to take the experience that you just went through, as traumatic as it can be, to get that healing done, you have to integrate that the right way. And it's so important. And we really stress enough that individuals shouldn't be doing these so much on their own, especially if they're working through, for specific mental health issues. working with professional is like the way to go, and it's the way to heal, safe and effectively.
Yeah, well, I almost compare it. So I went through a month-long process of EMDR therapy. They got the light one, but I always had the light gave me headaches, so I always had to do the shakers. And I was amazed, that it kind of made your right and left hemisphere crisscross, and it opened up things from my childhood that I never thought was an underlying issue before I went in the military. And it was amazing. Those were the first things that came out, but it took weeks to start happening. And when you say that, through these treatments, kind of happens all in one night, that's just amazing.
It's wild, right? And I think, and I know EMDR is a treatment for PTSD. I know a lot of veterans at least attempt to do it. It sounds like you went through the full treatment protocol, which I commend, because I know it has such a high dropout rate. It's well over 50% that start it. And I think, as you said, you didn't see the changes until kind of you were working through it after several weeks. And for many of us, like when we go try something, we want to feel like we're getting better quickly, and rapidly. And I believe, and we need to have EMDR, we need to have ECT, and we need to have all the treatments available. And what works for one person, or doesn't work for one person, may work for another. And all we're saying is I believe this is the future of mental health care, but I do believe it's a future tool in mental health care. And I don't think everybody's going to be doing this, nor do I think everybody should be doing psychedelic treatments, but this option should absolutely be available for the ones that aren't getting a response from the other treatments that are out there.
And so after you got the treatment down in Mexico and you came back home, you had your plans in place of what you do afterwards, to keep with the therapy and try to keep on that even keel that you felt like, cloud nine when you got off. Is that way? Like, when did you decide that you wanted to let your story out and start spreading the word of what helped you so much?
Yeah, it was a bit scary initially. As I mentioned earlier, I had a friend group that we were starting to talk about this issue. Like, hey, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. I'm seeing this psychiatrist, I'm on this, medication, I'm seeing this therapist. So we were having those conversations. And initially when I got better, which was pretty quickly, I just wanted to introduce it to my friends. So it's really the first few individuals that were treated after me were some of my very close teammates that I served with from day one, that I went through buds with. And we really didn't talk about it at all openly. This was all word of mouth, phone calls, text messages. And it wasn't until one of my former teammates and friends took his life on active duty, died by suicide. And we were at his funeral, and we kind of looked around and everybody just looked dead. Like they just looked like they were, they weren't dead, but they looked dead. And it was the same place that we had been in for many of our friends who were killed overseas in combat. We were just sitting there, my wife and I, and looking around and thinking how we can't be back in here again, time and time again, for individuals that have served so long fighting for this country, and then coming back and struggling with, I call them the hidden wounds of war between the years, to suicide. And so we thought at that point, okay, we can't be quiet anymore. If we're quiet, we're going to be back in here, and we're going to see more of our friends die by their own hand versus dying by the hand of the enemy. And we just said, like, we can't keep our mouths shut anymore. And we're going to start talking about this. And I don't remember how it initially started, or what interview we did, or how the story broke. But We spoke on a panel up in San Francisco at a conference that actually started to open up some doors that we were invited to. And then I think a bigger break was there was a big Time magazine article about this. It was 2018 or 2019. And that, of course, started to make some waves, and from then on, it's been nonstop. So.
And so you said this in Waves and War comes out November 3rd. And what do you hope that this movie will do for our veterans across the nation?
Yeah. We talk about that all the time, John and I, is like, what do we hope to get out of this? I think there's a few things. I think the first one is hope. Like, I want individuals, first veterans, because that's, my community of special operations veterans, the broader veteran community. Too many individuals are coming home. We've never fought a 20-year war. And, I have some friends that have been on 15 and 20 combat deployments. It's a lot. I know a lot of the communities go through that. It takes a toll, whether individuals think so or not. I don't know how you can't come home and be different from when you started out. And so I want individuals to know that we are working as hard as we can to make affordable access to treatments that are going to help these individuals that may have started within the system or within the VA system or military care and are not getting the true healing or the true help they need. We just hope that individuals can see this and go, oh wow, there is something out there, there is stuff that's happening, and it gives them like a bit of light and a bit of hope that they can continue fighting, they can keep moving on, they can keep waking up every day, being a dad, being a husband, and then eventually, getting treatment once these drugs come through the FDA. So that's.
And John, what is your take on that as well? I know he probably mentioned what that is, but what would you think the best take of this is for you?
Yeah, I think people are going to be blown away when they watch the film. I myself came at this from a point of view of not knowing much about the world of psychedelics or the world of the Navy SEALs, and they're both fascinating. In the film, you see these guys, all the stuff that you guys have been talking about, the endless deployment in Afghanistan and Iraq. You see these battles brought to life with footage that we collected from their personal archives and animation that we made. And then you see them, kind of at the end of their ropes where their families are falling apart and they're just desperate to get help. The beautiful thing is in the film, you see these three brothers, Marcus Capone and DJ Shipley and Matty Roberts, help each other go and find help for what is suffering them. I think it's going to be a story that resonates with veterans. I know it will. I also really think it's going to resonate with anybody who's had trauma in their life or suffering in their life. The audience, I think, is quite broad. The film has been making the rounds at film festivals all around the world all year long, and we're excited to get it out into the the most watched streaming platform in the history of the world, Netflix, on November 3rd.
Yeah, John, I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think John piggybacked that really well. My initial thought was, veterans is obviously my number one audience, where I hope it, reaches everyone. But mental health, PTSD, trauma, depression, substance use disorder, it doesn't discriminate. Veterans, first responders, teachers, politicians, executives, children, people dying of cancer, like it's across the board that individuals struggle, whether it's one day, weeks, months, years, chronic. Our idea is, how do we reach the largest portion of the population that are struggling? And, we're using the veteran voice to push that message out because people are listening. But this is a much bigger issue than just a veteran issue. We saw it after COVID. I mean, there's a serious mental health epidemic, and there's an issue there. And so we just hope we're providing solutions to help solve that problem, as best we can. We know we never will we'll do it to its fullest, but we can do the best we can to do our part.
So if anybody wanted to if there's a veteran out there that may be in the SEALs or Special Forces or recon or just in the military that's went through a lot of trauma over their deployments, how would they get involved into trying to link up to do something like you've done?
Great question. So how can you find out more information? I would say the first thing you can do, you can go to our website at the 501c3. It's vetsolutions.org. It's VET solutions.org. There's a host of information on there. There's an area where you can apply. You can find out more information. There's tons of resources about different vetted retreats and clinics where people can get access to safe and effective care. The issue right now is there's an over demand of folks looking for treatment, and so I don't want to lie. There's an extremely long waiting list right now for grant funding, but I still tell people to go to the website because we do have at least resources where individuals can learn about these different treatments, what they were initially used for, how they're being utilized today, what the ongoing drugs that are coming through the FDA, when they'll come through the FDA. So there's just a lot of information on the website. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on Warfighters United. We'll try to get this out. And, I advocate as much as everybody else, and so I'll be spreading the word. And Mark, one last question. Did you ever know a dog that was on the SEAL teams by the name of Emperor? She was shot in a cave. Some SEALs went into a cave in Afghanistan. And a couple of them got killed in that cave. The dog grabbed the insurgent out by the head, drug him out. During that, the dog got shot. It got sent to Colorado. And I actually did a Purple Heart plaque for that dog.
I feel like I know that story. Yeah, I feel like I, of course, know that story. What was the dog's name?
Emperor.
What an awesome name. I don't know it offhand. I feel like you piqued my interest now. I got to send some text messages.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of the dog and the plaque that we made because another SEAL guy here from Michigan took him from Colorado after Emperor healed up. When he passed away, we made a Purple Heart plaque for Emperor and buried her in the Military Service Dog Cemetery. But I'll make sure to send that email over to you. And I'd definitely like to talk to you again, Marcus.
Thank you.
When we're not time framed, just because I got a lot of information like hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment, some other things with 22 Project.
I wish I could afford a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Those are incredible. I mean, saunas, the chamber is one of the best for healing. I am a huge proponent. Another 3-year study. It should be available in the VA by 2028. Awesome. But I know you got to go. Matt's been telling me. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time today.
Hey, thanks, John and Elizabeth and Matt and Marcus. Hey, great meeting you,
everyone.
fellas.
You too.
And I'll do whatever I can to help you guys out.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. To speak with Eric Calley and Warfighters United, you can email him at eric@warfightersunited.com or call 517-699-0111.